Our guest here is Aaron Ross. So he's co-CEO, co-founder of Predictable Revenue. That's why I have the good fortune of knowing him myself. Aaron is married with 9 children, mostly through adoption. He loves motorcycles and keeps a 20-hour work week. What a life. He's a keynote speaker and also the best-selling author of Predictable Revenue, called The Sales Bible of the Silicon Valley. And he also wrote From Impossible to Inevitable. So Aaron's going to chat to us about raising 9 kids while running a $5 million business.
Yeah. Going from, really, I can't lose track of the years, but like 2011 for me. I mean, Colin and I didn't really join forces till like 2014, but from 2011, it was sort of like under $100,000 now, say like 5 million or so. And at the same time, went from 0 to 9 kids, actually faster from, like 6 years, from 2011 to 2017. So that'd be hyperscaling a family. A little bit, that's a different talk. So let me share my screen of slides. Give it a second here. And so we're going to focus on, really, it's more just how, in a lot of ways for me, like what works with accomplishing things, honestly. That's really what this is about. What's interesting is that, you mentioned like the 20-hour work week, and in 10 years ago, it might have been 25 hours, and it was a bit of a choice. There's a reason for that. And just because you threw it out there, and I don't really mention in the slides, but really what I found working at Salesforce, and I did investment banking, right, 100 hours a week when I was younger. And I just, at some point realized, more hours, like at some point, some more hours can help, but at some point they don't. And this is 10 years ago, 12 years ago, when I had left Salesforce and I was kind of figuring out, well, I'm not sure what I want to do, but I do know I want to make as much money as I want doing something I love. I just don't know what that is. Something I realized in my meanderings was when I worked more than about 25 or 30, 25-ish hours a week, maybe 30, something around that nature, I got more stuff done that week, but I lost sight of kind of the bigger picture or ideas. So to me, there's a balance around 20 to 30 hours a week. Sometimes it's more, sometimes less. It's kind of this balance between getting things done and actually having ideas that were hopefully more like leaps, like things that led to predictable revenue, or like the books, or next book I'm thinking about is called Unique Genius. I'm just kind of mulling over. So that's where that came from. And rather than just kind of throwing more hours at things, which we tend to do in our society, it's like, well, if there's a problem, it's like throw more money or hours at it. It's like, that's a bit of a brute force method. So if I have to limit myself with hours, then I have to be more thoughtful about how I use them. Then as I got a bigger family, I was just limited on time anyway. I couldn't work more than that much anyway, if I wanted to. So a lot of people say, like, why so many kids? And honestly, like, why not? It just wasn't something we planned on. It wasn't something we wanted to do when we got married. It just happened. Like, neither of us were from a big family. We both had my wife, Jessica, had 1 sister. I had a brother and sister. I have no idea. But when we got married, she already had 2 kids. So I had 2 kids from day one. That was 2011. And then we had a baby together, first bio kid, as we call him. And then we adopted a 4-year-old boy from China. And then we had another bio kid, and adopted and bio kid, and so on. So we somehow had 9. Now, 8 of them are here in Edinburgh. We moved here to Scotland in early January. And we moved to the 5 youngest, and then the older ones were either boarding school or college. And with the whole pandemic thing, it was just, they were struggling with one way or another. And so they ended up here. So we were going downward, and now we're back upwards. But to me, like, I think about these 2 forms of wealth. And then even when I was in my 30s, because I got married when I was 39, in my 30s, I probably was really focused on career, same thing like, career, money, maybe call it like dating, relationships. I wasn't focused on getting married. I didn't necessarily think about having kids. So it wasn't top of mind, but I was, like a lot of people, lonely in that way. And I kind of moved around a lot. But now, after getting married and having kids and just seeing kind of the impact on myself and all the benefits, and by the way, yeah, it's hard having kids. A lot of you know this, some of you don't, but totally worth it. And I don't know how Colin, he had twins. I don't know how he survived. So to me, there's these 2 forms of wealth. One is like financial, like there's no better way to build financial wealth than start your own business, do your own thing, whatever that means. Okay. But, emotional wealth for me really has come from family. And getting married, yeah, but actually having a family. And that to me really has been the more valuable type of wealth. I mean, I work, like I enjoy lots of my work, and there's a lot of things like ideas and working with people. There's a lot of fulfillment there. But a lot of it I do that because I have to support the family. So it's been great motivation. And so in rapidly building a family, first, it really forced me to rapidly build my income and the business. It wasn't that I made a lot of money and then had a family. It was had a big family and needed to make money. Right? Working at Salesforce, I was there early, but not early enough. And honestly, the money I made at Salesforce was more, it went to paying off I was married and divorced when I was probably like 30, divorce debts and things. So that wasn't much of, it was like a little cushion, but not a lot. So I do need money. I have needed to make money. And when I got married in 2011 and I had to make more money, because I remember the distinct moment when I had a baby on the way, like, I need to make more money. As a single person, I didn't have to make much. But as family, kids, I had to make more. So that led me to like nail my niche, right? Outbound prospecting. Because before that, I'd kind of played with this Unique Genius before, CEO Flow, like sales consulting, but then like, okay, predictable revenue. That's it. Publish the book, got a business partner, or there's Mary Lou Tyler. And then after that, I'm just going to just check here because if there's some problem, I can't spot it. There we go. Fine. So got a business partner. So really it's like being focused on where I was like at my niche. To me, like brand is really important. Again, it's something, one of those things where, if I build an audience and a brand, then that's not something people can take away, right? It's going to connect with people and it'd be fun in that way, but also something I can kind of build on for forever. And support, like very partnering, right? Partners at work, partners at home. I'm very partner driven. Even each book has a partner. It really helps keep me stay on track. I enjoy it. And it's kind of like one of the things I work best with. Now, even with all those, really what drove all this and like having a big family, making more money was really this unlimited manufactured motivation, right? Forcing functions. That's kind of like the lesson here. And like with family as my fuel to motivate me, whether I wanted to or not, I had to get things done. It was, external motivation to the nth degree, right? Had to pay rent every month, sometimes like we'd have kids that were in public school and it was just like a horrible fit, had to find a private school. And, even some of you might empathize, like my parents or my father really, like if you can't afford private school, like if you need to make money, what about public schools? I'm like, well, I got to choose a challenge. Either I can kind of have financial juggling if the certain kids are in private school, I'm paying more, or I have kind of other kid issues if they're in the wrong school. And for us, it was better to have the financial juggling to put them into, again, work to make more money to get them in the right school. So there's a lot of reasons why like family was a fuel, and really just, nothing's worse than letting your family down. And you want to give them a safe home with space and food and So one of the learnings as I went through this too was after like pushing, growing the business, growing the family, and actually really pushed me to grow as a person in a lot of ways. Like it's the most accelerated self-development course I think you could ever sign up for, parenting alone. Entrepreneurship to some extent, but especially parenting. And one of these realizations was, even looking back on my life and seeing others, how much easier it is to dream than to do, right? To think about inspirational things like helping orphans or writing a book or starting a business or quitting your job or getting married or getting divorced or getting a job, like whatever that is. And there's a study I remember, but basically dreaming is great, but if you spend too much time dreaming about it and not doing anything about it, it kind of satisfies that itch. The dreaming can take the place of actually doing it, and that sets you back. So a lot of this to me is when there's something that calls you, and that might be getting married, might be having kids, might be starting a business, might be making more money, might be writing a book, might be painting, getting in shape. Things you tend to ignore, you should do it. Maybe it's important, but you're just struggling to build that habit. We all have struggles. how do you get yourself to do it? How do you know what works for you or not, to kind of be aware of, I need to create a structure to get myself to do this, because it's hard building new habits. So for me, forcing functions are those things. And forcing functions, and we'll get to more of that, but a lot of my kids, I see this in my daughter. And my wife doesn't have this problem. My wife is like a very self-motivated. She works when she can. Her problem is more working so much, she might lose the forest for the trees, right? She's kind of going in the wrong direction. So everyone's got ways that they handle stress, ways that they handle like how they're going to go about accomplishing things. I'm saying for me, this is my magic. Like the one thing that really motivated me over the years and made it work, like these leaps in personal life or work, forcing functions. And again, part of this was just learning over the course of the years. Back before I was married and before I had kids, I could afford to wait till I was inspired to write. But that changed. And over the last many years, especially writing the From Impossible to Inevitable book, where we just adopted a baby, Rose, who was from a drug addicted mom. And that was a challenging first year, but she's doing great. The only way I got that done, I didn't have the time, I didn't have the money, the energy, the passion or ideas. I just had to do it. And I blocked out Wednesdays. Got a partner, Jason Lemkin, I loved his content, had a lot of respect for him. I'd met him before. Which is a really good match in terms of that style of the voice, and, made it happen. And it's come to say, all right, well, yes, I would love to have the time, energy, and space to be inspired, but you can't wait for that. If you're waiting for, when I get the right business idea, that's not how you think about it. You got to think about, I'm going to start it's not if I'm going to start it, it's when. And by starting it, whatever idea you have may or may not be any good, but you get the ball rolling and you'll come up with a good idea along the way. You don't start with a good idea, or maybe you don't start with a great idea. You start with whatever you got. And I think a lot of people are afraid of choices, right? What if I start a company? What if I leave my job? What if I get married? What if I have kids? And so let's see if I zoom. Oops, I'm gonna try to zoom in on this a bit if this works. Don't know if it will. Zoom. I'm not gonna mess with it. Too dangerous. I think it's working. So for choices, what I would encourage you to think about is like the choices I made, whether they're right or not for you, because parenting, for example, is not right for everyone. Being an entrepreneur is not right for everyone. Being both at the same time, kind of crazy, but really rewarding if you're stubborn enough to do it. But for me, freedom of time, for example, I had a lot of time when I was single. I wasted lots of time. And I exchanged that for the freedom of love, right? To have like this amazing family of people who love me and who I love, and kind of that freedom to be who I need to be what I want to be, it's a different kind of freedom. It's trading one freedom for another. I'm gonna go down here, actually. Lots of time together. So then with my wife, right? When we were dating and then maybe had a couple kids, maybe drinking, we had a lot of time together. And then having more and more kids, like we had for years so little time together. And we still do a little more now. The youngest is 3, but we have that preciousness of time together. It's different. And probably the most important thing is in basically investing all my sort of savings and going into debt to fund the family and growth. I had this in the past security of savings, right? We're very security seeking beings, humans. And I traded that for the security of financial confidence, kind of feeling like, you know what, after juggling with like making money, spending money, losing money, paying people, not paying people, all this stuff for so many years, because I make a lot of money, but we spend a lot of money. Like one adoption is, can be $40,000. And again, my father might say, well, if you can't afford it, don't do it. And like, we're just like, well, if it feels right, we're going to do it and trust that it'll work out. And it always has, so trade the security of having a bunch of money in the bank, liquid assets, to the security of financial confidence, to know that kind of whatever comes, I'll be able to figure it out. So again, this idea of forcing functions is really about embracing constraints, right? Constraints can enhance your creativity. So a simple one would be like announcing a date. The simplest one is announcing a date to do something, right? You pick a date. And in fact, before you even know what it is, I do this a lot. Pick a date, okay, July 23rd. But maybe you pick something 3 weeks in advance. And you're going to decide, hey, I'll do a webinar, my first webinar, or might be publishing my first blog post, or whatever it is that you need to do. Pick a date, and you tell people about it, and you publicly declare people. And then commonly, if you're not used to this, you panic a bit, like, oh, what am I going to do? All right, so you take some baby steps. Okay, figure out what the topic is. Who am I going to invite? What am I going to say? What am I going to ask them to do or leave with? And then there's usually other moments of panic before this event happens, whether it's you're publishing something or holding actually a live event. These things will go wrong. They will not go according to your plan. You just kind of adjust as you go. And then you have the event, you publish the thing, and you learn from it. And then you do that again and again, another like 1,000 times. And you just get used to it. And it just keeps moving things forward. So here's some samples for me, like I was forcing functions, having kids was one I mentioned. And a lot of reasons, like forcing me to be not just to make more money, but also like the kind of person I am and to grow as a person. Committing to publication dates for books, for example, and getting into shape. For me, it really worked. Even when I was super busy and tired, was hiring a personal trainer I really liked and scheduling sessions, right? That really kept me on track. And of course, moving into bigger houses with higher rents was also another version of having a bigger family, having to make more money. Let me just pop in and see if there's something, or maybe Sarah, if there's something in the chat or I need to know, you can just pop off, just let me know verbally. So some more examples, and you can apply it. Publicly announcing anything. So could be, or starting an interview series, right? We have like a regular schedule, could be once a week, once a month, whatever. Some people do once a day. Interview people, publishing them. Raising money, like when you raise money for business, then you have you've lost some portion of your self-determination of your destiny, but there's benefits to it, right? You hopefully have good other kind of people to help shepherd you along and push you, and some other financial resources. Mentioned already having kids. And again, scheduling things with other people is a simple one. Saying, hey, let's go for a weekly walk on Fridays. Keep each other accountable. Right? If you need to push yourself to grow and do something. Just a few fun facts about myself and my wife. So we both work at home. My wife's a playwright. We do get help, nannies, otherwise it'd be impossible. So for me, one thing I had to come to terms with was this idea of making money time when I'm away from the family. But, if I need to make money to support the family, that's still family time in a way. So I was just letting go of that kind of guilt. It's been fun taking kids on different business trips over the years, right? When it makes sense, like talks. And the last one is, honestly, a lot of the parenting books and blogs are just, they don't really resonate with us and they don't really work. So I don't know what to say about that. We just have to find our own way. Yeah, missed that car. The Sprinter. We had a Sprinter van in Los Angeles with 12-person passenger van. So spoke at HubSpot. I think this is like 2014 or 12. It's been a long time. That's Valentine. He's 15 now and way taller than I am. So anyway, that bottom line is, my family's really been the ideal forcing function for me. For other people, might be your kids, might be a business. Who knows what it is? Could be actually kind of sickness, right? If you get sick with something, it forces you to eat differently, right? There's all kinds of things like this. COVID, oh my God, the ultimate forcing function here for the world. But it's how do you look at problems? Do you look at them as problems or as opportunities to not only learn new skills or change your environment, but also to improve yourself? So, with COVID, this is the ultimate forcing function, right? And yeah, I would encourage you, and you probably hear it, but it's really like the best chance ever to recreate yourself, your business, how you want to work, whatever you want to do. Like, there's really never been a better time, or because there's just more challenge, which means more opportunity. So 2 examples how you can start. You mentioned a bunch of examples on the announcing dates and so on. But even just calendaring time, if you have a way to stick to it, it can be a simple way to do something, to focus on it. And it takes time to build that new habit. We call it maybe 21 days. Tai Chi, a Tai Chi person I heard mention 100 days, but it does take time. It's hard, even for me. So this is really out of the forcing functions was part 6 of the Impossible book. There's more about that in there. If you haven't read that, it's actually was fun to see it ranked the 8th best startup book of all time by Book Authority. And I want to thank you. So here's my email if people want to reach out. Now I know we got a few minutes if there's some questions. I saw some stuff in the some chat coming through, but again with this weird screen sharing issue.
Yeah, if we have any questions that people want to throw into the Q&A, then now is a great time for that. If you think of any other ones kind of not immediately, of course, you can ask them to Aaron in the Slack channel, in the live chat Slack channel.
That's right. So, yeah, I'm sure I got this.
Yeah. So
Here we go.
in live chat.
Which one
Yeah,
is it?
the hashtag live chat. That's it. So people can pop things in there to ask you. They can also, I believe, just direct message you in there because you're part of that community. But so that everyone can take advantage of the answers to the questions, pop them in there. But we do have a question from Stephen Brady. He asks, why Scotland? He's moving to Lisbon himself soon.
So we had vacationed in Scotland for a lot, many times, and we just love it here. Honestly, that was it. It's a good business opportunity because there's a lot of demand in Europe for kind of like content and what we do, but mostly we just wanted to go raise our family up here. By the way, I don't know. People say there might be like a not safe for work file. Honestly, our family is so un-PC. Like the kids they kind of like joke with each other around like racist jokes, and my wife will tease the teenagers about having sex because she knows it embarrasses the hell out of them. So we're just used to having an NSF home here. So it's probably nothing.
All good. I'm sure it's just some curiosity or something on the family computer.
Well, we got also so many different races here in the house. Again, it's like internally, if people heard the jokes, especially the teenagers, they make about each other. Mm-hmm. So Brooklyn here has a question. Any tips for outsourcing critical work? Our goal with content business, not why is it to scale up revenue while scaling down working hours? So far, it's difficult finding writers, others who get it. I think what I would highly encourage anyone to do these days, and I'm going to I don't know if you saw Gitano's talk and Josh's talk about how to stand out in a crowded world, but I 100% agree. And this is kind of what I'm kind of like zoning in on these days, is that no matter who you are, like you've got something valuable to offer the world. You may not exactly know what it is, but part of it is even your own story. Part of it is what you've learned and what you can teach others. And so if you're a CEO, entrepreneur, leader of a business, you might be thinking marketing like white papers and things, but honestly, I would encourage you to really use yourself as a platform for marketing, because one thing that always stands out from clutter is people. Our people is a person, is you. And with practice, if you're not used to it, but with practice, you can get clear on your personal message, the channel you want to use, whether it's video, writing, audio, whatever, and how to connect with people to inspire them and find the people who get it. Like as you tune and this is kind of like I mentioned, unique genius, but really I think of this radio signal. Right? If you're broadcasting a radio signal as a company or as a person, if it's fuzzy, like we want to help everyone. But as you tune it and get clearer, it's easier for those people who get it to find you.
Awesome. I see that there's another one that's come in there on the Slack chat. And I know there's another one from David here in the Q&A, but I'm going to ask that you guys get those answered in the actual Slack chat itself, because we're actually going to move on to our next talk. Aaron is sticking around for our next talk, and he'll be joined by another guest, Tien Zuo. So that talk is going to be on perspectives of entrepreneurs who have been through roller coasters. So if you are on Twitch, nice. I'm looking forward to it. If you're on Twitch, just hang tight. We'll be there in a couple of minutes. If you're with us here on Zoom, we're going to kill this room, start up that other one, and looking forward to seeing you all again in a couple of minutes.
Here we go.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for hanging out, Aaron. Good to learn a bit more.